So I want to go over the momentum, excuse me, sorry, the momentum stuff today, but I also want to get into the core present on KB Core because I think, well, you guys, you know that I've always been very bullish about doing buyer presentations, right? It's always been super critical. And I can tell you in my experience of selling real estate, the times that I didn't do an actual formal consultation with someone, those were the deals that crashed and burned, right? And I never got paid. They were a nightmare. And so I think right now, obviously with all the changes that have happened, they're really super important that we do them. We have to sit down and go over the process with people. And with, everybody watches reality TV show and they think that that's how buying and selling real estate happens. And we know that that's not true, right? So I want to go over the 5 stages of working with a buyer in the momentum class, but then I want to switch gears and jump into the core present and talk about why that's important and how to kind of navigate that. So let me do a share screen. Did your Zoom update yesterday? Mine updated. I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking for now. So it was like a forced update. I'm like, I don't know. Where's my buttons now? Everything looks different. So, oh my goodness. Okay. Remove that slideshow. Okay. So we think about, I don't know if you guys ever worked fast food, but I did. I worked at Burger King. Oh, what a horrible job. Fast food is not a fun job to have. But anyway, if you go to work at a fast food place, they teach you that if you have a small cup, you put the right amount of ice in there and you put it underneath the dispenser for soda and you hit the small button, then the cup will fill up with the right amount of soda. And in restaurant businesses, waste is a loss, right? That's what costs money. And so they teach you a process, right? So when we think about working with a buyer, and especially right now. So I'm gonna digress for a second. I took that cybersecurity class that Remax offered 2 weeks ago, and I thought the class was going to be about like us looking for ways to protect our clients, but it was actually geared towards us as realtors and how do we protect ourselves, our physical being, right? He talked about Beverly Carter. I talked about a product called Forewarn, which Donna, you and I get that as being members of PAR. So you might want to think about downloading that app. We get it as part of our membership fees. It's Forewarn. And basically you can put anybody's name into that and find out who they are. And so if you meet someone or you get a lead, you could pop them in there and find out if they're legitimate, right? Because if you think about Beverly Carter and her story, all of us have done that. We've all done it, right? We've done exactly what she did. And so when we think about protecting ourselves and looking for those bad guys, right? But at the end of the class, he went on to Google live time and said, I'm not trying to offend anyone, and I hope none of you pop up in this, but he just typed in realtors that have been fired. And it was really, really troubling and disheartening to see why agents had been fired, right? And a lot of it was around discrimination, which is really just hurts my heart, right? Hurts my heart because I think we take a code of, we're NAR members, right? Like we're not supposed to do that. So, but he went on to say like Facebook is good, but it's also really dangerous, right? Because we can use that, and we can get goaded into conversations that then lead to us getting in trouble. So he really talked a lot about that. He also was a little bullish about AI because of course, I had to be the contrarian, right? I posed the question like, what do you think about AI in our world today? And he basically said that AI is designed to help the bad guys, which we're having a presentation on Thursday about AI from Tony Ray. So we'll see how he addresses some of those things, right? So my point being in sharing this is we just have to be really, really careful. You have to be really careful about how you engage in your social media platforms and that type of stuff, right? And when we think about the risk that comes with the buyer, do we have a process that we follow? I remember taking my real estate classes and like thinking that I was going to step off the curb as a brand new licensed agent and get sued, right? Because they like drilled that into your head that, you've got all these things that you could do wrong. And so when we have a buyer process, one, it creates a winning process for the client, right? Brandy and I just closed a deal yesterday together, and it was such a smooth transaction, right? It was awesome. And, I attest that to her being a professional, right? And teeing up her buyer for the process. I teed up my sellers. This was my first rodeo with them. It's like what, third or fourth house I've worked with them on. And so, having a process, right? We explain that it reduces the risk. And we have a lot of risk when we work with buyers.
right? And so we have a lot of risk when we work with sellers, right? So having that process, being really clear about what that process is. And so the first step is having a pre-conversation activities. So have them come to the office, right? Don't do this on the back of your car in your trunk. I showed houses on Saturday to a potential relocation buyer that was referred to me, and it was kind of a. I'm still not, you guys. I'm still struggling with the buyer presentation. It was messy, my conversation, Donna, like, because they're in Texas and they're older. I didn't do it. I didn't jump on Zoom with them like I did the last guy I closed. Like it was just awkward, right? Awkward and uncomfortable. And I'm sharing that because I'm being transparent that it's janky right now, right? It is janky and it's uncomfortable. And I showed houses not even knowing if there was compensation being paid because I didn't go text 7 houses. I didn't text 7 agents. I just went. Right. I just went. I had my buyer broker signed. And it's crazy enough. An agent actually messaged me through a line giving me the compensation, right? Which you're not supposed to do. So I wanted to call her and say, hey, like you could get in trouble for that, right? And having each other's backs and that. But she totally legit messaged me through a line saying it was what the commission was. So have them come to the office. You guys know that our people at the front desk, the directors of first impression, they are taught if you call ahead of time, Donna, and you say, hey, so and so is going to meet me at the office, they will greet them by name. They will offer them a beverage and put them in a conference room. There is no sweeter sound. There is no sweeter sound than someone saying your name, right? And how professional is that? And what a nice touch. And we have beautiful offices. We have beautiful offices, and so they are trained to do that. So come into the office, right? Set that professional setting, the setting up, and then be in a conference room, right? And then we want to start building rapport. And the easiest script for that, I know you guys have probably heard me say this before, but it's just Ford, right? Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. I would stay away from hot topics, but the Cardinals, that's a great topic, right? They just won 3 in a row. Woo! And it was a blowout on Sunday. And so talk about things like that. Look for ways to connect with them, right? Look for, things about them that you can have in common, right? And then, start to build that rapport because, we're going to be spending time with this person. We want to like them, right? We want them to like us. And we need to build trust right away because that's the most important thing. Um, if someone trusts you and they like you, you could be bad at your job. You could be bad at it and they'll still work with you, right? I'm saying that in jest. We don't want you to be bad at your job. We want you to be good. But you get what I'm saying. If they know you, like you, and trust you, then, the trust is the most important part, right? So I want to build rapport. And then we want to set up what's the win, right? What's the win message? And going through, what are there, and I'll send you guys the materials, but there is a form, and I think I have it on the slides, but it is basically a buyer intake form. And that's part of reducing the risk, right? Is if you have a buyer intake form, and what you want to do basically is helping them uncover their needs, right? You got 2 people involved in purchasing a home. Let's take my ex and I, when we bought not the house I'm in now, but the house before, we had a big discussion about storage, right? And closet space. And he argued with me that closet space wasn't important. And I said, go to work tomorrow and I want you to ask your female coworkers if closet space is important, right? And so we have a difference of opinion, and I don't want to be sexist, but there's different things that people want in a home, right? If you're a cook, you want to have, whether you're female or male, you want to have a good kitchen, right? If you got a big family, storage might be important. If you really geek out about Christmas, you might want to have an outdoor shed where you can keep all your different Christmas things, right? And so helping them uncover those needs. And it's not uncommon that if more than one person's involved, that they might have differing opinions. Okay. So helping them uncover that. I have experienced in my career that if someone has, you know, 7 or 8 or 10, let's say 10 things that they really would like to have in a home, and we find a home that has 7 or 8 of those, it's probably the right home for them to purchase, right? Because no home's perfect. Even custom homes, people after the fact will say, I wish I would have done this differently, right? And we got to prioritize that. There was a report that came out a few years ago, I think it was Riz Media, that surveyed the what are they, Gen Zs? Yeah, Gen Z. I get confused with after millennials. Gen Zs. They were surveyed about buying homes and what was the most important thing. And it was, there were 3 things. It was distance to work,
distance to family, and safety. Those were the things that were most important to them. And so helping people understand and prioritizing those needs. And then we have to help people understand, like, if I want a 3 bedroom, can I do 2 in a den? Or if I need a 4 bedroom, can I do 3 in a den or 3 in a loft, right? If I want a 2-car garage or 3-car garage, can I do 2 with an RV? So helping them kind of think a little bit differently. It's challenging when you have a first-time home buyer. The only experience they have is what their parents went through or what they're being told. Because if you ever bought a new car and you never see that car on the road until you buy that car. I used to have a yellow Jeep. Never saw yellow Jeeps until I had a yellow Jeep. Now I see them everywhere. It's called your reticular activator, right? And so once people start thinking about buying a home, their reticular activator goes off, and all of a sudden they start getting flooded with information, right? So you want to help them prioritize that and help them understand what are their options, because this is every day at the office for us, but it's not for somebody. If they're a first time home buyer, or like in the case of the people I was showing over the weekend, they're downsizing from a 4,000 square foot house to a 2,000 square foot house. That could be shocking, right? Because what do you let go of? You're obviously not going to get 4,000 square feet of stuff into a 2,000. So that can be very challenging for them, right? So helping prioritize those things, just walking through it, talking about it, right? Thinking about, what are trends and things within homes, right? Oh, we had another person jumping in. Okay. And then we want to verify their motivation. So if someone tells me, I don't have a lease, or I don't have something to sell, but they're living with their in-laws with their 2 kids and their 2 dogs. Well, Donna, I don't know about you, but I don't want to, there's no way, no way I could live in that and be comfortable for a long time. Some people can, but I would say by and large, most people can't, right? They want to have their own space. Nate shared with us yesterday on the gas call that he sold a house to somebody who was first time home buyer, and they had been living with their parents, and they shared with him that they were excited with the thought that they could walk around naked. I'm like, right? I mean, think about that, right? You walk around naked without your parents being offended, right? And so we all have different motivations in why we want to buy a home, right? So finding that out and asking that question. Someone who says I'm not in a hurry, typically that's not true. The same thing with a seller that says, well, I'm not really in a hurry. I don't care if it takes a long time to sell. Well, that's not true. It's not true, because the minute the sign goes in the yard, life changes. There's a disruption there. Okay. So have them come into the office. And I'm gonna switch gears here in a minute, and we'll look at core present. Thank you, Lauren and Carolyn, for joining us. And then we wanna verify their financial ability. And I love that wording. Our words matter, and how we say things matter. And we get a really bad reputation of just being in it for the money, right? And not caring. And I think we need to do a better job as an industry of talking about the other things that we do, right? Like I got my big listing under contract on Sunday, and hopefully we can keep it together. There's deed restrictions in Williamson Valley, if you can imagine that, saying they can't have livestock. So anyway, working through that. So anyway, where was I going with that? I had something to say about that. Oh, so these people, it's a trust situation. So their dad, dad's incapacitated. They needed all kinds of stuff. They needed a painter, they needed carpet, they needed a home inspector, they needed a plumber, they needed a handyman, right? These were all things that I loved, that they were so forward thinking, because that helped get the home sold so quickly. But those were all things that she's in Texas, her sister's in California. And so they're not here, right? They didn't have resources. So those were all things that I had to help them with. And I don't think we do a good enough job as an industry talking about that and highlighting that, and all of the minutia and the things that go into, like, the deed restriction. When we get done with this call, I got a coaching call. After that, I got to get with the title company. It says my focus today, because the buyer's going to cancel if we can't figure this out, right? Because of course they're buying 9 acres in Williamson Valley. They want to have livestock, right? So we have to figure out, how do we fix this, right? So those are things that are part of our job that come up, and do we talk about it, right? Do we share enough of that? Because that defends our value. This lady's paying commission, right? And on a $930,000 house, it's a lot of money. And so I have to tee up, right? I got to be there. I got to do this. I got to make her feel like it's worth the money, right? So we have to prioritize that. So I love the financial ability. Sorry, little rant there. Financial ability, because we're so used to saying, well, what are you pre-qualified for? Which, by the way, is offensive these days. right? So, back in the day when I was a baby agent, I was taught to say, will you be paying cash or do you need financing? And at the time, we kind of did that as like tongue in cheek, right? Because people didn't have a lot of cash and they would go, oh, no, no, I don't have cash like that. I need you to loan. Nowadays, the answer might be yes, right? I think I've closed more cash deals this year than I have ever, right? So we say it, we used to be a joke, right? To break the ice, but now that's not the case. There's a lot of cash out there. And so, that's the way to ask the question. And when we say, what's your financial ability? That is a much better way to say it that brings down the guard, right? And makes them feel like, well, you care about my ability. What am I comfortable with versus I have commission breath and what's the highest price point I can sell you? Right. So I love that. So if you take anything away from this is incorporating that terminology into your messaging when you're talking with people. Okay. So checking their financial ability or their financial motivation. So the next thing is uncovering the mutual expectations. And so when you take and I think I'll probably have a class on this, but there's a whole section in Momentum that is the roles and expectations. And so when we talk about roles and expectations, what is their role in the win-win? What's your role? I think that you could incorporate an entire page or slide in your presentation that just talks about fiduciary duties. Just think about how cool that sounds to say fiduciary duties. Makes you sound pretty smart, right? Because how many other industries say fiduciary duties besides an attorney? There aren't, right? The Constitution allows us to practice law without the protection that a lawyer has. That's a pretty darn important responsibility, right? It really is. We are someone's suit. If you've ever had to have an attorney and go to court and have a suit stand next to you, there's something very comforting knowing that you could tell that human being anything and they have to go to their grave with it. Do we treat our role as a realtor the same way? And so we talk about fiduciary duties. What does it mean to have honesty, loyalty, accountability, right? What does all of that mean? I think you could probably have an entire buyer presentation just on the agency agreement and talking about what that is. Right. And so then we want to gain the agreement on the roles. We talk about, hey, buyer, I don't buy something. Right. They get excited about their brand new 3-car garage. They go buy a new truck. Right. So to park in that 3-car garage. So we want to talk about that. We want to talk about not visiting new construction without you. We want to talk about not contacting for sale by owners, not going to open houses. And we have people that don't want to bother us right on a Sunday, so they pop into an open house. And of course, nowadays, procuring cause is not necessarily a thing. But could that agent that they just happen to pop into the open house convert them? Right. I showed my listing, and it was a lead on the internet. I think it just came through remax.com. But I asked them if they had a realtor, and they said yes. And but he lives in Flagstaff, and they didn't want to bother him to come show one house. So it's my listing. I went and showed it, but I pressed the issue. Hey, who's your realtor? Oh, it's my nephew. He's part-time. He didn't even have them, you guys, he did not even have them set up on a search through the MLS. He told them to use Zillow. Right, Donna? And I said to them, I quoted a momentum script. Would you like to use a process that ensures you find a home? And they were like, yeah. So it's a terrible story, right? It's a terrible story of someone who's out there actively looking. They are going to be homeless because they sold their home in Colorado. They're going to be homeless, and their nephew has them on a Zillow search, right? So going over the expectations. What is my role in your life? What's your role in my life? Right. And then we're gonna agree to that. Right. And then that's when you would roll out, I think in buyer presentations, we need to go over the marketing advisory, the buyer advisory, fair housing advisory, the wire fraud, agency, and now buyer broker. I think those are the minimums that I think we should be going over in a presentation. Okay. Getting all those signed, talking about that stuff. The buyer advisory is great, right? If you got, especially if you got somebody coming in from out of state, that's a very powerful tool to help educate people, right? And then, of course, we close the meeting and set the appointment. I used to always say, don't forget your checkbook. right? When I'd call to confirm, that doesn't apply anymore, right? Bummer, because that was such a great way to convert and plant the seed that people were going to buy a home, right? But nobody writes checks anymore. So then we would close for the appointment, right? So if this is a Wednesday afternoon, you're doing your presentation, you're going to take them out and show houses on Saturday, right? And we want to have the dialogue that we give them permission that on Saturday, if I've listened to everything that you're telling me and I understand what your needs and your goals are, I'm going to show you the homes that meet your needs the best. And at the end of the tour, we'll go back and look at your top three and you'll make a decision to buy one. We have to give them permission to act. When you go to Dillard's and the person comes up to you and says, "Are you finding everything you need?" Most of us go, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm just looking." Right? I don't do that anymore. Last time I went to Dillard's and needed something, I was in a wedding and I had to wear this ridiculous dress that just I thought I was going to have a wardrobe malfunction like Janet Jackson. So I take the dress to Dillard's and I walk up to the lingerie section and I have the dress and I'm like, I need help. And I had two ladies like they were on me, right? I'm in the dressing room, they're giving me stuff, they're bringing me things, right? And I picked something that was fabulous and made the dress great and I didn't have to worry, right? So I don't do that anymore because I have learned that my time is worth so much more. Those ladies in Dillard's or men, whoever, the salespeople, they know the product better than I do, right? They know the product better than I do. So I can go in, I can save time and get something that I might not have found on my own because they know their job, right? So we have to give people permission to act. We have to have that be that expert that we're going to go out, we know the product, we're going to find the right home. I get really frustrated when I hear agents saying like, well, just check the portal, right? I'm going to send you stuff. We need to know. We need to be previewing. We need to know what the trends are. You need to know the new construction that's out there, because photos suck, right? Not all photos are great. And if, I mean, I've been doing the 3D tours on my listings, which are really cool. So ask your photographer if they do that for $50 to get a 3D tour has been really cool. But photos don't always capture a home, right? They don't always capture a neighborhood. And so if you're out previewing and you know what's on the market, especially if you're farming or know your neighborhood, right? So don't let your clients just rely on picking pictures out of the MLS because I'll tell you, I I would always throw in a ringer, and I have a great story for you guys about a client that Nate had given me years ago. We called them Elvira and Patrick Swayze because that's what they look like. Really nice family, but we were struggling to find them a home. She wanted to be in Arrowhead Lakes. She wanted to be on the lake. But at the time, in her price point, she couldn't afford to be on the lake. She could be in Arrowhead Lakes, but couldn't be actually on the lake. Nate was frustrated, so he gives me the lead. He's like, "You go try to find her something." So as I'm showing her houses, I'm getting to know her, and her family is really, really important to her. Children, really important. And we had a listing that was on the market. It was in the lakes. It was not on the lake. If you stood on the deck and tippy-toed and looked over the tree line, you could see the lake across the street, right? But this house was built. These people also really loved their children, and the home was completely built, custom built around their lifestyle that they had with their children. So I said to the lady, I said, what was her name? I can't remember. Kathy, that was her name, Kathy. I said, Kathy, I'm like, will you just do me a favor? I'm like, I know you really want to be on the lake, but will you come look at this house? Because I really think that it checks all the boxes. And guess what house they bought? Bought that house, right? Because it was perfect for them because at the end of the day, her desire to be on the lake was trumped by the fact that her family was more important. And this home was perfect, right? So I think it's important that we listen and we throw those ringers in. We throw the ringers in because, someone may tell you this is what they want, but there's some underlying thing that's more important. So the only way to do that, you guys, is to preview, is to know what's on the market, right? So don't rely on portals to, have people pick the properties they want to look at because not all the time is that accurate. I showed houses to a person a couple months ago that are planning to retire here. They're a couple years out, but they had picked a house based on the photos, and it was terrible. It was terrible, and so they were really disappointed because they looked at the photos and said, "Wow, this is not. The photos aren't the same, right?" So we got to make sure we're previewing and getting out there and knowing the inventory. All right, so post conversation activities. So what's their homework, right? Are they pre-qualified? Did they provide you with proof of funds? So we want to make sure if they have any homework. Now, I personally don't really like to show houses to somebody who isn't already pre-qualified or hasn't provided me a proof of funds. Now, that being said, if it's someone, let's say that it's somebody that was a sign call, right, on one of my listings. They're here vacationing. They're they're going to retire here in a couple years. I will go show a property. I'll show one, right? I'm not going to go out and do a tour of homes, but I will show one to build that rapport, right? Because, I, I just will, right? There's a gal, Lisa, great past client of mine, still friends with her to this day. She was a sign call. I was on my way to the hospital. My nephew was being born, popped in, showed the house. I don't even know how many homes I've sold a lady, right? And just recently she thought about moving again. So all from a sign call that was not, I didn't have any information, right? It just popped in and built the rapport. Now you got to ask the right questions. We don't want someone, we talked about Beverly Carter at the beginning of this. We don't want that happening, right? So you have to ask the right questions, okay? And dig a little bit deeper into the process. But so does your client have homework, right? Do they have something they have to go do, right? And then when we're showing homes, we want to basically, when you show one, right? Have them making notes. How do they feel about it? If this was the only home on the market, would you want to buy it? Right? You get to house number two. How does it compare to house number one? You get to house number three. How does it stack up? Or we one, two, three. We get to house number four, assuming you're showing more than one. You get to house number four. They have to eliminate one, right? They have to eliminate one. It was so fun on Saturday because I didn't have to do that with these people. They said this was like their 17th home that they bought over their marriage. And so they were the ones eliminating, which was really fun to watch because they're like, oh, yeah, number two's out. That's out. This is number one now. So it was just really fun to see them actually doing the process. I didn't have to do it, right? So we want them to eliminate one house. We'll always have top three. And then at the end of the day, what I like to do is go back and show top three again. Because if you show, we were at seven and they were starting to blend together, right? So if you start showing a lot of houses, more than probably five, they start to blend together. So you want to take them back and show them. And if someone cries as they're standing in a kitchen, that's pretty much a close me sign. Right? If they can imagine, like my house I bought it emotionally before I even stepped in it because of the windows in the front. It was like, oh my God, my Christmas tree is gonna look amazing there. I have beautiful windows in the front of my house, right? And so I emotionally bought the home looking at the photos before I even looked at it, right? And I could tell you at least well, I would say probably three of the homes that I've purchased I knew before I even stepped in the door, right? So that's a pretty cool thing when you walk up and someone says, "Yep, this is the house I want to buy." Right. And so we want to show homes that meet their criteria. Throw in the ringer, right? Throw in the one that might be just not quite what they say because there's a saying that buyers are liars, right? And it's not that they mean to be liars, just they don't know what they don't know, right? And if they're first time home buyers or even a move up buyer or relocation, there's stuff, right? There's things that they're not thinking about until we actually get into looking at it. And then we want to actually write the offer, right? Write an informed, intelligent offer. Talk to the agent. Call the agent. Ask the agent, what are the seller's needs? What is the agent's needs? Is there anything that you can do to help make that process smoother for the listing agent? If it's a hot property and it's getting multiple offers, that's really important to ask that question. Call ahead, right? Let them know you're going to write the offer and then confirm that the offer was received because technology is not always perfect, right? So sometimes things don't go through. So make sure the offer was received. You could include a little bio about yourself, do a little synopsis of the offer, right? We can't do love letters anymore, but you could do, we love this about the home, right? If we stick to the facts about the home, not anything about your client that could be construed in a fair housing issue, right? And just have good communication. I will tell you, another thing too in your fiduciary duties, you guys, is that you don't know how that offer was presented to the seller unless you actually present it. We had a situation during the COVID market. One of our agents was working a VA buyer. She had written 50 offers for a VA buyer. Couldn't get any of them to stick, which was horrific discrimination against the veteran. I just closed two VAs. Thank you. Anyway, our agent called the listing agent and said, what time are you presenting the offers? I'd like to present in person. To which the agent said to her, well, I was only going to present the cash offers. Right? It's a really disheartening story because not always are the cash offers the best offer. We think cash is king, and in most cases it is, but maybe it's not. So she said, hey, what time do you meet? I will be there. And she went and presented her offer in person to the seller, right? So the only way we know, and you guys, I can tell you another story that I know for a fact that I won the offer because I went and presented the offer in person. right? Not all sellers are going to oblige, right? But it is your fiduciary duty to ask so that you can present that offer in the way it needs to be presented to that seller. These days with Zoom, you can jump on Zoom and present an offer in 10 minutes, right? And not have to interrupt anybody by actually going to their home. Okay. So that would be something I would encourage you to think about doing, because truly, if we're representing our clients and if we're going to have a buyer broker sign that we're getting X apples, are we doing enough that that person's going to feel happy, right? And enthusiastic about paying you that commission, right? So let me stop sharing this screen. I want to go to KV Core. Are any of you guys using KV Core? Put it in the chat or come off mute.
Yeah, I am.
As I say, Lauren, you are because you're on Nate's team. But Carolyn, are
No,
you?
I'm not really using it. No, I have another CRM, and I just really haven't figured out how to, blend them together.
Okay. So what I want to do is I just want to show you guys, because I really think this is quite brilliant, and it's got a lot of I just think there's money to be made using KV Core. So when you log in, it's got a little bit of a different look now because it's changing over to this Bold Trails name, which I guess KB Core, I don't know if they merged or bought, but the Boomtown, which is kind of cool because Boomtown is really a robust system. So if you go into marketing in here on your desktop or on your Mac Center platform, you can see all the different things here that you can set up. And so your presentations, and then you have your listing machine over here. So I went ahead and opened it up. So you click on presentations, this right here, get started. You can go in and hold on, well, I guess I have 3 of the same tabs open. Sorry. Let me hit this one. Why is it taking so long? Of course, when you're in a live demo, it has to take so long. So you can do win the listing. And I've done this several times, and it's pretty powerful, right? Because at the end of the slides, there's a funnel, and the funnel shows how many active buyers we have looking at homes on our website, our company website. And I went on one, and there was only, because for whatever reason, my MLS is because I belong to 2. I've got to figure that out. But I went on appointment. It was my first farm deal that I closed in my neighborhood. And there were only 4 buyers, but they were geeked out about it. They're like, oh my gosh, you have 4 buyers right now that are looking in our neighborhood. They thought it was really cool. I was kind of embarrassed thinking it should be more, but they thought it was awesome, right? And so if you guys are going to have much more because if you're armless, you're going to have better results than I do up here with par. And then you've got the buyer stuff. You have the buyer tour, and then win the offers. You can actually create a presentation for your offer. Now let's go look at this. So I can customize this. So if it's a buyer, I could put, maybe if they're buying in Glendale, maybe grab a great picture of Glendale, put that in there, right? If it's a seller, you could put their home in there. And then you can go in here and you could pick the different slides, right? So if you hit add a slide, these are different. So you have all slides right here. Testimonials about me, the buying process, right? So if we're a home buyer, we go through the buying process, we explain that and explain to them what that looks like for them. So you grab these different slides. And so your compensation, this one's great too, right? Talking about how do you get paid, the importance of a buyer's agent, which I'd already selected in my slides. And then what do buyers want from their agent? And then a whole bunch of stuff about Remax. You have seller's guide, buyer's guide, right? Those are home buying glossaries, right? Again, if someone's a first time home buyer, this is all foreign to them. And it's very, they get nervous, they get cold feet, right? It's a big commitment to be a homeowner. And then you have, so explaining that, and even for somebody who, if the average person's been in their home 10 to 14 years, I don't know about you, but I don't necessarily remember what I was doing 10 years ago, unless it was something that was really, important or significant, right? So we don't remember, and this is every day at the office for us, and I think we tend to take that for granted, and we just slide through things. And the market was really wild during COVID. We didn't have time. I was talking to one of our agents yesterday, and she did a buyer presentation. She got a lead, and she did a buyer presentation, got the BBA signed, and she shared with me she was different. And I have found myself being different, right? And so she said, I slowed down. I went over things. I answered questions. I explained the process. And she said, coming in, because she started as a new agent during the COVID market, she said it wasn't in time to do that then. And she goes, I don't know if I was a good agent. I don't know if I did a good job because I didn't do these things that I'm doing now. And so we have to slow down, right? And I think we just have to. We got to slow down. We have to explain the process. We have to, and I hate saying this, we have to talk about our value, right? What are we doing that makes us the right choice for them? There's a lot of agents running around in Arizona. Why are you the right choice for them? Right? So picking this stuff here and to get in, talk about your personal stuff too. Are you a good communicator? You got good negotiation skills? What's your track record when you write offers? Do you get them accepted? So then down here, you got a lot of stuff about Remax, about the brand, being prepared for your buyer. Remax is number one. And then there is some stuff down here on, where's it at? CMN. I want to talk about this, about Children's Miracle Network. And so just a lot of really great stuff in here. So I picked all slides. You can go in and do, if you want to just pick specific things in here, you could do that. And then the next steps. So when you do, I have one up. I think I do. Okay. So when you do the presentation, you can do it as an email or you can download it. When I've gone on listing appointments, I download it, I print it out, and I put it in a binder, and then I leave it with them. All right. That binder's got, it's got value. Now, if you wanted to go buy, and I probably should, and I probably will, but actual branded stuff to Remax, you can get some things like that you can use for your presentations. The last few I've just run to the store and bought a red binder or a blue binder and leave it with them. Okay. So you got the power of the brand, Remax production here. This one's pretty braggy about Remax that I created. So you can download it or you can send it via web, talking about giving back. And then the end right here, let's get started or I need more time. There's also, let's see, I don't know if I think I have it on here, but you can on this last slide actually include a link to your buyer broker. It's not signable, but at least you can send a sample so they can read the buyer broker and know what that terminology is, so that they know what they're going to be signing from you. Okay, so that's one example. I think, do I have another one up here? I think I do.
That's impressive.
Right? That's why I'm sharing it with you.
Thank you.
It's pretty cool, right? And it's so easy to do. So the importance of the buyer's agent, let me see what else I have on this one. Why am I the right fit? This one was real short. So you just go in and literally get started and start picking your slides. That's it, right? You pick the slides. I think I have one here, right? Yeah. So pick the slides if I want. So let's say I'm going to do about me, testimonials, the home buying process, buyer compensation, and add the slides. And now they're here. And you can move them around depending on how you want them to show up on your presentation. But yeah, and then it's super easy, right? Super easy to do. And then you can send that out or print it out. So I'm not the only product out there, but obviously I'm a big Remax balloon head. I want to support the company and support the product that we have. And why go out and try to reinvent the wheel when you already got something that's really powerful, right? That you can push people to. So that's what I got for you guys. Finish up a little bit early. Any thoughts or ahas? Anything that you guys are doing that maybe I didn't cover that would be relevant to share with people that are on the call?
You tend to cover an awful lot. Good job.
I know I've been accused of being a fire hose. Sorry.
No, it's really good. I'm still getting my. I have several different buyer presentations, because it's changed a bit, and I was gonna just this morning. I was gonna work on it because I have a new buyer, and it's great to see that. I mean, wow! I don't have to go in Canva and make these things, pretty them up or anything. That's just right there. That's awesome.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, Remax pivoted to or Bold Trails because some of this stuff wasn't in there until the NAR settlement. So they pivoted and added some things in there, which makes our lives easier, right? Because we don't have to invent the wheel. And I have a love hate with Canva.
I know.
So some of it I love, but some of it I'm like, this is so difficult. Why is this so hard? So
Why is it so hard?
it's probably user error, right, on my part, but I have a love hate. What I do like though is Photofy. If you haven't messed around with Photofy, you guys, that's another Remax. It's not just Remax, but it's got a lot of branded stuff to Remax. So like my posts that I do when I have a sale, that all comes out of Photofy. So there's a little video, a little video clip. It looks really cool, and it's got my picture. It's all branded. That all comes out of Photofy. So it takes me literally, I don't know, because I've got the template. It takes me a couple seconds to do, and then I push it out. So
Do
there's
you
a
do
bunch of,
video?
huh?
Are you doing video?
It's like a little boomerang. So, but yeah, I do have, you can do video through Photofy. You can also, there's another website called remaxhustle.com that you can create video in there as well. So I would encourage you guys. Photofy is like $56 a year, something like that. Super cheap, but it's got all that cool stuff. So they've got holidays. They have your recognition. So if you hit platinum or something, you can go in and grab a graphic for yourself and do that. They have the national ad campaigns. They've got quick shares. Got all kinds of stuff in Photofy. But the Remax Hustle is also cool because it's got you can create like little doormats for people that bought a home. They've got some social awareness type stuff, and then you can create video too.
Okay.
Cool. So those are two extra resources that we have that I think are underutilized. So okay, office meeting is Thursday. Would really encourage you to jump in. Tony Ray Baker's coming up from Tucson. He's going to talk to us about how we can leverage AI and give us some tools on that. So, and he's going to give us some freebie stuff. So I've never heard him speak, but I hear he's amazing. And he's very lively. So that definitely will be a good one to come to on Thursday. And then the following week, we have a water class coming up and then some updates on the chip plant with Tom Witt. So we got a lot of things happening. Obviously, we've got the holidays. If you are wanting to participate in the Pi Day, get with Roberta. They're also doing it in Avondale. Carolyn, I don't know if you guys are doing Pi Day in Tucson or not, but Avondale's doing it as well. So we've got a couple different options for you guys to participate. It's a really cool, fun thing to do for your clients is have them come to the office and give them a pie for the holiday.
We don't do one down in Tucson, but I deliver pies myself, but I would like to get that started down here. I think it'd be great.
Well, talk to Roberta. She has spearheaded it at Arrowhead North, and it's really turned into something. We've got a few agents that participate. And what's really cool is your clients roll up and they think it's this big event, but really, it's just because there's more than one agent doing it. I will deliver because being up in Prescott doesn't make sense to have people go to Glendale to pick up a pie. So
Right, right.
Right. But okay, awesome, you guys. Well, have a great day. If you need anything, please reach out. I will email you the class materials and more to come as Tuesdays roll on. So thank you for being here. And if you need anything, like I said, reach out. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a great day. Be safe. Bye bye.